Now, obviously, you're here, and there's somebody that I've had this guy on the show before, but you've been looking forward to meeting, Alex Clapp from Claritee, which is, it's probably best for you to describe and give us a resume as to what Clarity's all about, if you would, please, Alex.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, both of you. So Clarity's a wellness and wellbeing sober events company. We have just turned 1 year old a couple of weeks ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It's been a whirlwind year, but it's been an amazing year. And I am probably the most excited I've been to announce that we are just launching a new brand called Club Soba, which is
Soba.
Club Soba.
Right up my street.
So,
I feel like a bit of matchmaker to put you two together. Not one of them old-fashioned
Are you
agencies.
feeling left out, Roy?
No,
Come on, it's for you too.
Yeah. Go on then. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So it's basically a concept that Bern and I have come up with, that we decided, because we've been reaching the corporate industry and showing people that you can have an amazing time without alcohol. We said, why aren't we doing this to the masses, to the main, everybody? There's 8.5 million people who are sober in the UK. There's people in recovery, people who don't want to drink, people who are pregnant, people who, don't drink for religion. Why isn't there an option? So we've come up with a concept, and basically the concept is to take young, upcoming, homegrown talent, to give them a platform in each city to come and perform, to basically showcase themselves, to have a sober party, sober event, and we've just had so much support. We've had the Moxy Hotel in Chester, the Moxy Hotel in Manchester that have signed up with us, and it's a perfect fit because the Moxy Hotels have a policy of using local suppliers, local basically entertainers, so it all fits so well with our USP. And then obviously we've been privileged that the Royal Institution in Liverpool see the vision. They want to be part of it.
So, it's a great idea. Talk us through what one of these nights looks like then, if you would, please, Alex.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, effectively, so if you put it into concept or context, it could be an open mic night, it could be a comedy night, it could be a mix, it could be a games night, it could be anything. So anything, but all these nights will be available to come to be entertained, to see local upcoming talent, to basically support the community, but all sober. With all the non-alcoholic brands, with whether you choose to have a non-alcoholic beer, whether you choose to have only simply, Cokes, lemonades, cordials, everything will be based upon sober. Right. No hangovers, no waffling after you've had too many drinks.
No deleting Facebook posts the following day.
Deleting photos.
Revealing your inner truths. Not a good place to be. Not a good look.
So, I mean, obviously, Alex has just mentioned that, and it's one of them things. I've had conversations with you, Liz, about this. Your sobriety. So, what does a typical night out for Liz Folan look like then?
Oh, well, it can vary. I still enjoy going out with friends. I still enjoy
even
going
if they're
to clubs.
Drinking.
Yeah, even if they're drinking. Yeah. It doesn't bother me at all. But I am discerning enough now to know when to go and when to say no, or when to go, just end the night. So, and that sometimes happens and sometimes it doesn't, because I've said this to you, there is a certain emotional contagion that comes from your confidence when you don't drink and when you're not drinking, and I find that friends tend to drink less, not because I shame them into it,
just feel,
and not because they feel sorry for me, but they see that we're having the crack anyway, because it's that initial drink that gives you that spark that you think you need, that initial bit of kind of social glue, and when they realise that we're not using it, we're just connecting, just as we're chatting here. Alex,
of course, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. You're privileged in the fact that you're probably 6 years sober. I'm only 15 months sober. So
amazing, though. Amazing. It doesn't even matter on the time, though, does it?
No, but then for me, it's probably, I still wouldn't be as comfortable being around everyone in the drinking.
Get it.
In the drinking environment.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Alex's story, by the way?
Yes, I am. I am, because I follow him on LinkedIn as well.
Can we have a little kind of review of if you're happy to do it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
What happened to you, where it went wrong, and how you recovered?
Yeah, of course. So about 5 years ago, I had an undiagnosable condition with my eyes, and I lost the sight in my left eye. Wow. About 90% of it, and I had a lot of stress and stuff going on, and I chose to turn to alcohol. Became an alcoholic. Spent 5 months in different rehabs. I was privileged enough to spend 5 months in different rehabs around the world, and eventually I managed to get it that I couldn't drink anymore, that I was an alcoholic, that I am an alcoholic, and it gave me the drive and the determination through everything that I had been through, all the struggles.
To what extent? Well, first of all, would I be right in assuming that perhaps maybe this did the eye thing get corrected, by the way?
No, the eye thing continues.
Was that relevant to perhaps maybe what the work environment had done to you, or was it just something that was going to happen, unfortunately?
Yeah, very sadly, very sadly.
So, to what extent was drinking a problem to you? Give me an example of that.
Oh, drinking was a massive problem. By the end, I was drinking out all day, every day, from first thing in the morning, and it was a pure coping mechanism. It was running away from all my problems, running away from facing up to what was going on.
You're running away. You're not solving them. You're just moving the goalposts.
Yeah, you're just delaying. You know, and it was. And I thought, I got to the stage where I needed alcohol. I needed it because your body becomes dependent on it. And it was a really sad place to be. And this is where Claritee came from. You know, This is where Claritee came from, to try and actually, even if I can help a few people see that there is another way, you know, even if I can touch on a few people and help them not to have to go through what I went through, you know, because once you get to an alcoholic stage, it's too late. You can't go back. I have not met any single person who has managed to reverse the alcoholism. So it's let's try and help, let's try and educate, let's try and show, you know, subliminal messages. Why can't we show everybody that I can go and have an amazing night, I can dance, I can sing, I can, you know, be with all my friends, socialise, you know, but totally sober.
What was the very first step that you took to address this problem?
Asking for help. Asking for help. And being
was that brave. Asking for professional help or friend help?
Friend help was the first thing. Admitting to that I couldn't do it anymore. Right. That you're making me, you know, fill up a little bit, because it takes you back.
It's a tough
emotionally.
One.
Oh, sorry,
no, not at all. No, and that was wow. You know, emotionally, it just all of a sudden takes you back to that, you know, that really dark place where, you know, you had to actually admit that I had a problem, right? You know, and I had to be brave enough. Being vulnerable and asking for help is actually not vulnerable. It's actually brave.
It's a superpower.
It takes a braver person to be able to ask for help than it does to keep it all to yourself.
Well, you were a drinker, but not to that extent. At what point did you think, I ain't going to carry on doing this anymore? What happened to you, and what did you do to correct it?
Well, for me, it was living a life of quiet desperation, to be honest with you, Roy. I was presenting for all intents and purposes, as been successful. I was smashing it at work. I was in a relationship, had the kids, had everything. Nothing was taken off me. I wasn't drinking in the day. I wasn't drinking every day.
There was no tragedy or anything.
There was nothing like that. There was no car crash. There was no sudden realisation. It was death by 1,000 cuts with me. So with me, I don't identify as an alcoholic, per se. I would identify as having had an alcohol use disorder. So in the sense that when I was drinking and I drank the same way as I did when I was 14, as when I was 44. And it was essentially, I had no off switch when I started. And if I didn't start, it was fine. But if I did start, all bets were off. Sometimes I might have one, but it was one that was miserable. Because in my head, it was, what was the point of having one and not having more, and getting to that stage of numbing out. But for me, it started with the social bonding and the cohesion, which I think you addressed there with your Club Soba nights, when you said, you know, you don't have to feel, you know, insecure going out, because there is that in early sobriety. That loneliness.
In early sobriety, there's loneliness. You sort of got resentment. You feel like you're missing out, and
you don't want to drag people down either.
Yeah, and you almost feel responsible for other people's feelings. Whereas if you've got a place, there's Indian restaurants, there's Chinese restaurants, there's but there's not actually venues across the UK where it's all sober. And I don't understand it. And which is why the whole vision and mission that we're bringing with the Club Soba, and our mission is to be across the UK within the next 18 months.
Wow.
And I'm already talking to venues in Ibiza and around the world.
Oh, and can you invite us, please? Are you up for that?
Well, I feel as though I should go because it would probably be very useful for me.
And for me, obviously. I'll write about it. Brilliant, lovely, thank you.
I mean, obviously, you're taking that around as a roadshow, but would there not be a vision there of perhaps maybe something else physically on the high street permanent that would be Claritee, you know what I mean, for people, because no one's doing that. Nobody's got like and I know there are places that don't do alcohol, but the idea of having an instantly recognisable brand like a McDonald's or something like that, or a Wetherspoon is probably not the best example to use, but somewhere on the high street where people know that there's no drinking there, but there is entertainment, and I can go there if I'm stone cold sober and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest challenge I see is to show people that you can have a great time without alcohol. You do need the entertainment, and you do need to keep it mixed up. You do need to change it. You do need to have a high vibe, a high intensity. So almost by doing it in different venues once a month to begin with, it gives you something to build up to look forward to. We're doing 3 in the Northwest, so we're doing Liverpool, Manchester, Chester monthly from next month, which is super exciting. And the support, the amount of people who are, backing it, coming, already. We've got our launch event in Liverpool at the Royal Institution next Thursday, the 25th. We've still got a few places left, but it's actually free, so people can come along for free.
Amazing.
People can come and witness all the entertainment, have an amazing night. All they've got to do is basically follow Club Soba on Instagram, Club Soba UK. Tickets still available, registration. We've got all the stuff on Eventbrite. And we're just super excited at showcasing what we can do.
This must be of appeal to you, because the reason I mentioned that, Liz, is because you were talking about, I go out with my friends and they do that, but you get that point where you think, right, they might be getting a bit leery now. Whereas in that environment, is being offered there from Alex, then that would probably, you could have a late one then, couldn't you?
Have a real late one. But you know what? I don't not have late ones either. I quite like a late one, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we did have, because I'm a member of Soberistas, I've mentioned that to you before, a website, and there's 75,000 people on this website. It's wonderful. And we have meetups. And one of our meetups made me laugh. There was another woman from Ireland, and we met up together and we were sharing a place, and we ended up being kicked out of the bar across the road from the event because we were talking so much and having such a nice time at the end of it.
But that's it. You do find at some of our Be the Spirit nights where we're all corporate, we end up going and sitting in the bar afterwards and just chatting, and it gets to like 1-2 in the morning, and it's like you're actually thinking about how much of an amazing time you've had. You've witnessed 200-300 corporate people having a brilliant night, and we're just sat there on a high still.
Well, it's emotional contagion. That's what I was saying.
It is.
There is such a psychological thing.
Do you know what it is with me? Because I've had conversations when we've been talking about this. Is that I still do go out and drink. I used to drink a lot years ago, and I think the reason that I don't do it so much now is because my body just says, well, we can't be doing with this anymore. And it was one of those things that there's no way because I used to work as a DJ as a club bars, there's no way I could do that unless he had a few bars. It was as simple as that. And I used to think, well, have I got some kind of personality problem that I require this in order to do the job? And then I think the contradiction that I have is that in the daytime it's not a problem. I can talk. It's of a night time. It's almost as if you take on a different persona of a nighttime, or there are different requirements that I have. And I've got to the point, because it's like, especially in the summer, the idea of having a Saturday night out And then waking up Sunday morning when the sun is shining and I don't want to leave the house is such a sense of waste to me that I don't want to feel like that. So I do try to be, I'm not saying I've stopped drinking, but I try to be a little bit more disciplined, thinking, take it a bit easier, throw a bit of water down here and there and what have you, just keep on top of it. But I'm not saying I wouldn't be one of these people who wouldn't be averse to the idea of thinking, I'd love to be able to quit it altogether and not have to consider any aspect of it as a problem. And I'm wondering whether it might be a psychological thing with me to get beyond it.
I believe it's probably the association that we've always had. Because we've grown up with, in England, the association is once you get to 18, you can go to the pub. Once you get to 21, you go out, you drink with your friends, and it's the association of going out is with drinking. So it's subliminal messages, because I personally am not trying to tell anybody not to drink. If people can drink, in moderation, and amazing. I got to the point where I couldn't, and I'm an alcoholic, so it's like I can't go back. But for people who can drink in moderation, but I'm trying to challenge people to say, well, come and actually try a night, without alcohol, to socialise without alcohol, to, even a work environment. Why wouldn't corporates look at coming, to these type of events for like a works night out? Why wouldn't corporates look, for just coming in with a colleague, etc., where there's no alcohol, you can have an amazing conversation, everybody knows what you're talking about, and
everybody remembers
and that's the big thing, isn't it? Everybody remembers, and you feel fine for work the next day.
But it's about changing the social script there, isn't it?
It is.
Because if we celebrate, if we continue to celebrate a substance and say that this is the only way to bond, it's about social bonding as well. And if this is the only way that we can have social glue, and what I find really fantastic, and you're going to love this, 46% of our people, young people in this country between the age of 18 and 25 say they don't drink. This stat just came out last week.
So it's
Isn't that fun?
That's incredible.
That's almost 1 in 2.
My son's 19 and he went a month just from choice of not drinking. And he loves a night out, but then he'll go, no, I'm okay. And I look back to my era, and if I had gone a month without drinking, people would have put me in the corner and thought I'd gone crazy.
But that's the thing, that's how we were conditioned.
Yes, it is.
And I love it, because my son's similar. He's like nearly 18, and he says, I'm going to just celebrate now when I finish my exams. So when he finishes his exams in the summer, and he says, we're not really that pushed about it, Mum. We're not really that pushed about it.
I think perhaps maybe because, certainly when I was growing up, it wasn't so much of a problem maybe. There was always alcohol in the house, and my dad would be, try that if you want when I was a kid and what have you. Whereas some parents are a bit like, do not touch that. And it's the forbidden fruit, isn't it? So I think, the kids, I want to be drunk. And I think perhaps maybe, if you adopted, for example, like in France, where they'll say at an early age to kids, we're having wine with our dinner, and therefore there is nothing of this new thing that's arrived in your life when you get into your teen years that does this to you. You've had it. My daughter doesn't drink. Has never drunk. She's 26, and we've always said, don't get me wrong, she might have a snowball or something like that now and again, but she has no desire to drink at all. So she's in the 46%.
But you know what's interesting, I think from working with lots of teens and working with young people, they're actually so cool, and they don't see it as particularly a cool thing to do.
No.
And I think that drinking's going to have a smoking day very soon. So it becomes a case of, really, you're smoking? Is that a bit sad? The way we look at, society tends to turn. I think that drinking is getting there because we're getting more information. Our young people are well informed. They're well informed. They're self-aware, and they know what it does to them.
You might end up with, when they made all these incredible beer gardens for people to go out and smoke in, there'll be some kind of little area for the drinkers to go to, and everybody's sobered in it. Wow,
it's a weird one.
I wouldn't rule it out.
And to be honest, we are supporting alcohol change with Club Soba. So we're basically donating back to alcohol change with profit that we make from Club Soba. Because it's a charity. Amazing. It's basically educating people around alcohol. It's showing, basically, what the effects can be, responsible drinking, obviously dry January, etc., etc. So everything that we're doing is trying to put it all together and trying to basically show people,
great.
When is your next event then?
So the launch of the Liverpool one is on the 25th, Thursday the 25th of January at the Royal Institution in Liverpool.
Okay.
And that's a free event. We've got about 80 people already signed up.
I'm one.
There is still a few places available. And then from February we'll be going Manchester.
We'll be doing once a month.
Once a month, Liverpool, Manchester, Chester.
Right.
So all the details.
Who's on the bill then for Thursday? What's going to happen? Who's the entertainer? Oh, yeah, I'll put him on the spot.
It's not me.
It's all surprises. It's all surprises.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Surprises for the first one, because what we don't want to do is let the cat out the bag.
Yeah.
All I can say is...
Well, that's interesting.
All I can say is miss it, miss out.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, it's super, super exciting. And I'll be honest, I'm just taken aback by the amount of support that we've got.
Brilliant.
And with that support, we've actually gone one step further, and we are launching our own app, the Claritee app, in the first couple of weeks of February, because then basically people have got all the details, be able to download the app, look at where we are with Club Soba, look at what venues we've got. Our plan is to roll it out across the UK. I mean, if I'm privileged enough with the Moxy Chester and the Moxy Manchester, they've got 126 venues across the world. So that gives us a good platform, to be able to hopefully carry on building with them.
And what about Claritee on a day-to-day basis? What kind of things is the organisation doing?
So I was on the National Organisation of Scaffolding Charter webinar this week as a mental health ambassador, wellbeing. So I spoke on that to over 260 corporate companies about my own struggles, my what I'd been through, some advice, some different things in the workplace, etc. What we're trying to do is we've got a USP of we are giving advice and trying to help people. We're not telling people what to do, because we believe if you try and tell somebody what to do, they're not going to do it. If you can educate, give people some options as to how they might want to do something differently, even if they don't listen at that time, they might come back to it and go, oh, maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll try that.
Planting seeds,
subliminal messages, I call it. Subliminal messages.
What about your organisation, the Soberistas? I mean, is that a weekly meet-up? How does that work?
No, not at all. Soberistas was a website set up by Lucy Rocker, the woman I was talking about last week, who, like me, identified as a grey area drinker. That's how we would identify, with no off switch. And she realised that she didn't have support. This was over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, actually. And she just started a website looking for people around the same age with similar issues who kind of grew up in the ladette culture and became professional women and developed a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol and wanted to kind of maybe take back a bit of control. So now there's 75,000 people, and you can just log on. If you Google Soberistas, you get 7 days free trial, and within that space you have access to a doctor, you have access to other groups, you can go on a chat facility, which is how I started. Most people start by just kind of going on the fringes and watching and observing, and then the more there's I think William Porter's book Alcohol Explained, I think you get access to that one chapter, but there's one called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. That's free to download, and that's what changed my mind, because that talks about the neuroscience of addiction and habit change, and it was a real eye-opener. But so then we arranged to meet, and that's how I ended up with my podcast buddy Julia. I met her on Soberistas over 6 years ago.
Well, this is going to be the byproduct of what you're doing as well, because it's a network, isn't it? And, and it's one of the most important things. I use the word network, and it's such a corporate term to use. You can make friends. Is the nicest way of saying it, because if you first of all, if you want to have a conversation, the good advantage that you've got is that you can, if you walked into a pub and you think, I want to speak to somebody, I don't know that person, I don't know anything about them, how are you going to kind of broach the subject and broke the conversation? Whereas you're in a place where everybody's got one thing in common, so therefore you've got a good starting block. And having a good circle of friends is so therapeutic for people who may be dealing with mental health problems. The more people you know, the more people have got your back, if you like.
It's integral.
And there's big advantage in that, really. So I would urge people who might be listening to this show, go on down and check out what you're doing there, because I would imagine it is a very friendly environment.
Amazingly so.
If Liz is there, she'll talk to anybody. You know
exactly.
Talk the leg off a donkey. That's what my mother used to say.
So that's it. Yeah. So you're going to be cycling down there, are you?
Do you know what? I think I will, because there's no distance from where I live. So that's what I'll do. I'll make sure I have my lights on. Don't worry.
Right.
And my helmet. I'll be safe. I'll be safe. And my high vis.
Brilliant. If anybody wants to find out more about this, then Alex, how can they do that?
So Club Soba, Instagram, clubsoba.uk, our website, clubsoba.uk. Any talent, young talent, or anybody aspiring to be seen, Jessica at claritegroup.co.uk. Jess is in charge of basically pulling together all the potential talent for any of the areas, and then basically, we look to plug people together. But we are absolutely super excited, and just looking forward to showing the world that basically you can have an amazing time.
Can't guarantee it'll be at the Thursday one, but I will be at one.
Amazing. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere.
I'll get Liz to pick me up on it.
Absolutely, you can go on the back. I'll give you a handlebar.